What's up, Kenra? It's Lo Wheeler, your ambassador, and today we're gonna do a really fun color technique. I have my good friend Matt here. He has volunteered as tribute because we are gonna go blonde, and we are gonna take him blonde with a really natural root. So it's gonna require quite a bit of precision, but we are so here for it. Let's get started. Looking at Matt's hair, we're obviously dealing with short hair, a lot of texture. This is going to require tons of subsections. So I am going to have Kayla help me with each subsection, but just as an overview, how I'd like to approach this application is by dividing the hair into 4 sections. Each side is their own section, the back is its own section, and then the front and crown is the final section. So I think what I'd like to do is start with 30 volume and mix a lot of small batches so we just have a really fresh and active product. We're using the Kenra blue powder to do that just because it lifts up to 8 levels and it also cools as it lifts in tones. So that's gonna be important here. And again, we're mixing with 30 volume. I'm gonna start from the bottom, lay foil, drop down micro section, saturate, and you'll see me go all the way up with the same approach, feathering up to the scalp without saturating at the scalp. This is gonna give us a little disconnect, a nice rooted look, and then we could build the color as we tone after that. Okay, so I'm having Kayla hold up each section just because she is personally invested in this transformation, as she is the wifey. But, you know, I just am going to brush the lightener up. We're keeping it off scalp because we want a soft rooted blend. We like a edgy contrast look. And don't worry too much about foil slipping. It's going to happen with this small of a application. But I'm just going to take my time, and I have everything I need. I've mixed the blue powder lightener, medium thick viscosity, just so that it can hold on to the foils. We've cut these foils in half just because you don't need extra wiggle room there. So the smaller the foil, the easier the placement's gonna be. So we have 2 brushes. One is a well brush to mix the product, and then we have a fresh, clean brush set aside so that we can just be precise. And as I mentioned, I really like to have small batch of my blue powder lightener. This just creates the opportunity to work with the freshest product at its most active state. You don't want to work as hard as your chemicals, right? The chemicals are formulated to work for you. So I love mixing fresh because that way I just know I'm gonna get super clean lift as I work. This is definitely a custom service that would require a lot of marketing if you want to offer these services, just because in my experience this blonding is going to be as extensive as, you know, something that you do on a long-haired client. It's going to require, you know, just as much technique and planning. So if you are thinking about offering a service like this, you want to make sure that the price point is competitive for, you know, a traditional blonding service that you're offering, especially because the time required for this is gonna be similar. So I've talked to Matt in advance, and we know that we've blocked out about 4 hours to see this transformation through. We know when you're lifting more than 3 or 4 levels, which in this case we're gonna need time to actually see the product perform and lift to its best ability. So just because the hair is short, you're not gonna wanna shortchange the business around this service because it's still gonna require a lot of time and product. I mean, we're probably gonna use 2 to 3 toners and 2 to 3 small scoops of lightener here. Here's a look at the back of the application. We're going to remix a fresh batch of lightener and get nice fresh active ingredients, and we're gonna do the same application from front to crown this way. And then once we're done with that, we'll address the sides. Let's talk about saturation and your lifting. You wanna make sure that you're generous with the amount of product that you're putting on. And use your common sense, because you obviously don't wanna scoop a big sloppy batch on each section. You wanna use your common sense there, but be generous. Make sure that all of the hair is saturated. It's gonna give you a nicer even lift, and then also the section size of each foil. The finer the section, the blonder the lift. So here we're gonna use very fine sections and ample product. With these type of services, something I like to always have in the back of my mind is the haircut. In consultating with Matt, he wants to keep his length as much as possible. So after this blonding session, we'll do some light texture and maintenance. But if I was going to give a totally new shape to his haircut, I would do that first before blonding, because it just makes your workload so much easier. And if you remove bulk, you're removing surface space to cover. So it just makes it a little bit easier for you to tackle the haircut first in some of these situations. So now what we have left is these sides. So we cannot lose our detail here. This is still important. So we're gonna take extra fine little foils and we're gonna approach it the same way from bottom to top. Here is the result of our amazing transformation. We're both so stoked with how this came together. We ended up doing a shadow root for this look because I really wanted it to be balanced. So when you're looking at, you know, the depth of his beard, his eyebrows, his skin tone, all of those things, putting a root is so essential to making it look effortless and easy. And that's what we wanted to do. So to make that come to life, we chose a 6 ash, which is a deep navy blue base, which is a little bit intimidating to go over blonde because as soon as you see it develop, it starts to shift its tone. But don't be scared of this Demi-Permanent formula because it's so beautiful. It looks so rich. It really does eliminate any harsh lines that you can possibly leave behind when doing so many foils. And the overall tone was a 9PV. Now, when you use a really rich ash-based shadow root such as 6 ash, you can easily get it throughout pieces of hair that you're trying to keep blonder. When that happens, it's really easy. You just take a little bit of lightener to volume and pull it through anything that grabs of any of that residual tone. So we did our magic, and here is the end result. We use the dry texture spray to give the shape a lot of impact, power, and just full looking aesthetic. And this actually was such great results. I mean, we weren't really anticipating having this impact of lift, but I'm also not surprised because the blue powder is amazing. So if you love this education and want more inspiration, subscribe to the Kenra Professional YouTube because there's so many more amazing tutorials right there at your fingertips. See you there.